There has never been a more successful football club in Australia. A heritage stretching back a century. A history studded with 34 premierships. A club that was prepared to give up its famous Guernsey, its colours, in a bid to add to its fame and its glory. In 1997, the AFL invited Port Adelaide into the inner sanctum, and football would never be the same. The people, the faces, the stories. They were, they are, they will be Port Adelaide. This is the story of their first year in the Australian Football League. A year when they threw tradition to the wind and started afresh. And who better to start against than the team that bore the same colours and the same emblem, the mighty Magpies of Collingwood.
Primus again. Up against.
What more daunting opening could there have been? Collingwood, an MCG crowd of 50,000, and the expectation of a crowd back home glued to their television sets. To make matters worse, Collingwood was in rare form. By late in the second term, they'd kicked 11 straight. 12 goals won by half-time.
Fitter than he's ever been. Chips it in short to Curran, and the Magpies go forward. It's kicked to the pocket, Patterson. Can he get his third? He's going to race in the goal.
Oh, he's gone too far.
That's a third goal. Well played.
Gee, they're finding all about it now as Francis finally gets clear to Primus.
First goal kicker for the new look Port, Shane Brewer.
Getting plenty of the ball. Poole goes in hard. A hand pass to Brewer. Here's a chance for their first goal in the AFL. Brewer. Yes, he's got it. Here's Nathan Buckley. The mark is dropped down there by Mead, but Fabian Francis has got it. He belts it to the full forward area of the ruckman fly. Over the back. Here's Heaver.
That's his goal.
Another goal. Well played, Brett Heaver.
Peter Burgoyne, the danger player down there at the moment. Poole takes it out of the air, tries to do it on his own, and the big man does.
Now, Port have got it all covered 60 metres from here, so Buckley's forced to go across the ground, and he finds Stephen Patterson, who drives it to the half-forward line. They should mark here, Collingwood. Yes,
that was well done by Watson.
Mark Richardson on the Paul Williams, will race in the goal and puts it through the middle.
Curran at centre wing. Lyles in front.
This was a gutsy first-up effort, and just a glimpse of things to come in the big time.
Goes goalwards and puts it through. His second.
Cummings, Francis, Heaver and Poole, 2 goals apiece. Dickey, Wilson and Francis, the best for Port.
Was it a worry coming up against Collingwood first up?
Yes, I think they marketed that very well, because it was a new team coming in. It was the old established team. It was black and white. One wanted to retain their colours and the Magpies. The other, the new kids on the block, wanted to take that over. We caught Collingwood right at the peak, and they were for the first 3 or 4 games. They were very competitive, full of run. But we came back 2 or 3 times, and I saw that during the game, that there was some competitive spirit there, that we weren't down and out. Collingwood skipped away in the finish, but I could see some daylight even then. A lot of people couldn't see it, but we, the players, we thought we could see some confidence that we could perhaps compete a lot better than we thought. And so whilst it was exciting for the players, some haven't seen the MCG at that stage, I think we learned a lot from the first game, the intensity, the ferocity of Collingwood, how bad they wanted to win and start the season off well. So it was a good initiation for us, and I think it got us on the right step.
A cavalcade of former champions set the scene for the history-making debut of the Port Power in Adelaide.
Port fans couldn't wait for this day to come. It might be the Power's second AFL match, but it's their first on home turf.
It's exciting as to when they sent the first man to the moon. You see, the new kid on the block.
At Alberton, Port legend Foss Williams was called in to perform a special ceremony along with his son Stephen, the Port Adelaide Magpies coach, and grandson Marcus.
They are the future of Port Adelaide. That's it.
4 pieces of turf were dug from Alberton Oval, bound for Footy Park via the 7 Nightly News helicopter.
This ground has been regarded as our own, and we've always experienced a great success here. And I think that taking the turf to Football Park means that we hope we can transfer that sort of success over to the AFL.
It was a proud moment for Foss Williams and his family, standing near the centre square on Port's new home ground. And the celebrations continued with fireworks and a cavalcade of former club stars.
Primus, number 2, down at Brown. Plenty of space there for David Brown.
Port's first AFL home game attracted 32,747 to Football Park. And the Power opened at breakneck speed.
His teammate just about took it away from him. Lockwood did all right. Bond, open goal square, kick by Bond. Bond is there, back to David Brown. Terrific play, Fabian Francis, 51 metres out. What a kick!
While Essendon stood up to a barrage, Port could only kick 3 goals from 11 scoring shots. In the next 2 quarters, Essendon fought their way back into the game and restricted the Power to 2 goals in 2 quarters. From the time James Hird put his side in front during the second term, Essendon took complete control. Later, Essendon coach Kevin Sheedy would pay Port the compliment of saying how much they resembled the young Bombers of '93, who won the flag that year.
Oh, he took him on. Just gets it away. Brown spins out of trouble. Left footer by Brown to the goal square. Pull! Had more hand passes than kicks. And surely will get his first goal.
And Poole to do the ruck work up against Berbakoff.
There's a chance for Brewer. Lines up the goals and kicks, and a beauty!
Despite 4 final term goals, Port down by 33 points and second last on the ladder, above St Kilda. How times would change.
Love the look of him. Just will get better. He's kicked with Lyle, and Lyle will kick the goal.
Certainly a different feeling for me playing against the old team, and it was certainly hard to play against them because it was something I certainly wasn't used to, and it was good to get that game over and done with. Disappointing that we lost, but yeah, good to get over and done with.
8 single goal kickers for the Power, with Brown, Lyle and Brewer the standouts.
Good start to this contest. No score on the board as yet.
There were those who said pre-season that Port Adelaide would struggle in their formative year in the AFL. Most tipsters, especially in the eastern states, said Port would be lucky to win a game and would be certain wooden spooners. 32,000 at Football Park for the Saturday night game in round 3 against Geelong had heard that stuff, but were in for a mighty surprise.
So Corrigan comes away from half-back, kicks to Bitterskin, can't take it, been taken away, stolen from Francis, kicks to space, running with the fly to the ball. This is great play, been marked by Lockwood. So Lockwood from 40 metres out, he's drilled it. What a start for Port.
Lockwood getting his first. Wanganeen sending them forward to Lyle again. He chips up towards the half-forward line and finds the experienced Brewer playing against his old side. 74th game for Brewer, most of those with the Cats. To full forward, 1, 2 rounds! He's got it again, Scott Cummings. He's got their solitary behind at the moment, 30 metres out. Now he's got his first goal. Scholl to tidy up at the back. He's in front of the scoreboard that looks good for Port at the moment. Oh! Here he is again! He's going to become a top figure at Donald.
Geelong were hot off a 6-point win over the Eagles, and with 4 grand final appearances in 8 seasons, a tough and experienced combination. They didn't know what hit them. Again, Port came out blazing. 3-5 in the first quarter to a couple of behinds. Then 5 goals in each of the next 3 quarters.
Lyle back to Paxman, rebound football by Port Power, kicks the ball wide, great play to Lockwood. They're killing the Cats. Wonderful kick to Brewer. So he's on 60, the lead is on. Cummings out in front, he's got it. A 45-degree angle, so plenty of goal space. The Roar tells it all. 13 possessions, back to Brown. Kicks back to Poole, the high flyer's laid. Youngsters just come onto the ground. The kid from Kangaroo Island. Right on 50. Distance is there. This is a great kick. It's a thumping kick. Hargraves overruns it.
Bowen Lockwood would provide 4 goals in a game that would win him Port's first Norwich Rising Star nomination.
Running with the fly of the ball, Lockwood. This kid's pretty promising. He's kicked it.
Century kick is okay. Donald Dickey was in front. Couldn't top the mark. Paxman come through. Back to Dickey. Back to Paxman. They're out of trouble. Up to half forward. Oh, Lockwood set himself. The youngsters booted too. Lockwood is 55 metres out. Gets underneath the drop part. This is going to be very close. He's put it up.
Youngster has already booted 3. Franco on the burst. Inside 50. Cummings has got it. So directly in front. He'll kick from 45 metres. Scott Cummings for Port Power. He's drilled it. Well, Kirkpatrick hit the post. So has Scotty Cummings.
And they may get another chance here. Long bomb. This is long. This is good.
This situation.
That was Graham who hit the deck. 36.
Maybe they've gone for some variation where someone else kicking in.
So inside 50, Port Power, Franco with pace. It's a miracle stop. What a goal!
Three-quarter time, the Cats trailed by 49 points. In the final quarter, they made up some of the slack and cut the margin to 39 points. This was history in the making. After 3 appearances in the AFL, Port had broken through. Kids unheard of in other footballing states were suddenly hot topics. Donald Dickey was outstanding. Braden Lyle had 24 possessions and 8 marks. And Jack Oatey medalist in the last of his 4 Port Adelaide premierships, David Brown, was one of the match winners.
Sight and sound in football when the crowd goes up and roars at the end.
The early disappointments against Essendon and Collingwood, knowing that we were competitive for most of the game, and then not just getting across the line. And then once we had that first win, after the game, back in the change rooms, all the boys were just around each other and singing the song, and we knew from then, that there was something we could build on. And
Cummings 5, Lockwood 4. Dickey again the best, from Lockwood, Brown and Wilson.
Footy Park early Sunday morning and not a fan in sight. Then the onslaught. Some fans had been waiting years for today's historic match and they weren't going to let their sides down.
Winners and the losers.
Some went to extreme lengths to show their true colours, while others were quick to part with their cash.
Good amount of money for both sides. At the moment, there's probably been more for the Crows.
The footy souvenir shops worked overtime.
With lots of flags being waved, lots of hats being worn, everyone supporting their club.
Throughout the day, the crowd streamed in, Footy Park jam-packed right on game time. Many fans have had sleepless nights this week waiting for the ultimate showdown between the Crows and Port Power, and for many fans the result is a case of life and death because no one wants to lose.
I don't support Port at all, I hate them.
Port Adelaide people are better.
The Crows were doing very easily today.
I'm retired and love every bit of Port Adelaide.
We've been living for this game for a long while, so it's going to be great.
As the players broke the banners and lined up for the first bounce, Adelaide showed the rest of the country South Australia has something to cheer about.
From half back, loses control of the ball. Held a long time in the tackle, nothing doing. Bond in
The 47,000 at Football Park for Showdown 1 pitted the team with 127 years experience and only 4 AFL games against the battle-hardened Crows. The first quarter inaccuracy saw 1 goal from 7 scoring shots. For 7 years, Port had been waiting its chance to play in the AFL. It had started the season with some promise, but on field had developed a relentless style. A tough, physical game, with the skills instilled by Cale.
Pretty good. He looked pretty happy. And it's a goal.
In the second term, the Power had 8 more scoring shots, 4 goals 4, and by half-time would have translated that into a lead of 18 points.
No chance to see what happened in any case.
It's a fine line, isn't it, between just holding your opponent back at the... Well, it's a 7-metre penalty, but good enough to make it a certain goal, isn't it?
Throw in. 2 youngsters, Johnson and Lockwood. A veteran Rashudo gives it away though. Brewer, question of accuracy, runs in and slots it. Eustace inside the 50, coming, storming up the ground. Now he missed after the siren at half-time. Now he gets another chance to boot his third. Meantime, Cummings, a driving kick. Goal.
Back it comes to Mead, who's been very, very good. Here's Franco, runs to 50, drives a goal. Yes!
Downsborough. Stanfield wanted a free kick. Well done by McCartney. Got back but exposed the ball to Brewer. Normally a good finisher. I'll tell you what. He's got it. His second. Lockwood worked out of it. Smart. Wilson's got him. Slung immediately. Loose ball. Wilson did brilliantly. Flicked it back. Needs support. Goes on to lay another tackle. That was great stuff. In the opposite direction is Hart. Downsborough stood up in the tackle. Ball into the ground. Lockwood to Brown. Dickey. Could this be a clincher? Well, it's unselfish. Cummings runs in and gets the goal.
A few things must have gone through your mind during that last quarter, like, you know, we are going to win this.
Yeah, well, it was through the game, through the third quarter, you know, we really thought about we were going to win it, and then I think we got down to we had a fair few injuries on the bench, and they started to come back and we started panicking a bit, but once we realised that we were going to win it, it was pretty good actually. I mean, we got the money for a trip fund out of it, so it's been a real bonus.
Stanfield thumps it out wide. Brewer.
At three-quarter time, Port led by 33 points. But Cale reminded his team that guts were going to be needed. With only 18 fit players on the field, and even then Adam Eustace was battling a thigh. What a final term, as Adelaide threw everything at the AFL rookies.
Rintoul. It's under it, but it's good.
And there's Tregenza driving it forward. They need 2 or 3 quick ones. Well, they've got a chance here. Costa at the back. Here's Peter Marty racing in the goal. That's another one.
Floats it down towards centre half forward. Caven over the top. Bond. Caven did well lying on the ground. It comes to Vardy, the unlikely hero. Down towards full forward. Out of middle.
While the Crows piled on 6 goals, Port steadied with a couple.
Chips it out wide. Downsborough can take it and go. Downsborough 25 out. Kicks a goal. And there is no more time.
The final margin 11 points, and the first showdown was Port's.
Wait for it. The Battle of Adelaide has been fought and won.
It was fairy tale, and I thought we had full control of that game for most of the game, so that was good.
Cummings kicked 4. He'd booted 12 in the first 4 games of the year. Lyle, Primus and Norwich Rising Star nomination Wilson figured prominently in the best players.
Champion was the infringing player and the free kick to be taken by Brewer.
John Cale was celebrating his 57th birthday when the Brisbane Lions hit Adelaide. Again, the Power opened with that characteristic dash, a strong first quarter laying the foundations, and a 17-point lead at the first change, providing a solid basis.
Questionable this year, 12 goals, 13 to his credit. Kicking from 55, so the distance will test him. Downsborough, the big flyer from behind. Couldn't take it. Peter Burgoyne steps and goals. Brings it back into play. Dickey's the flyer. Close to the man on the mark. Donald Dickey swings play into the centre. That's a good kick because Lade is all alone. He comes on a lead to Cummings. That's better. Scotty Cummings, 50 out. Going for goal number 13 for the year from 55 metres. It's a good kick off the boot. It's a goal to Port Power. Dickey to Brown.
In the second quarter, the Lions made inroads, and from then on, the game was a legitimate thriller.
Smashed clear of him. Taken by James. Port Power go into attack. Beautifully done to Scotty Cummings. Long run up. Kick from 40 metres. Kicks a goal. So the Power is on at Football Park.
Then kick in towards the centre of the ground. Got a player on his own there in Kingsley. I'm sure he'll do much better than his last kick. Well, he didn't. He kicked straight into the man of the mark. Lambert was good. Lippich, he'll make up for the last mistake. Justin Lippich puts it straight through the centre.
Into half forward. At the back, Lambert. Wider to Scotty McIver. Caught, but gets his kick in. Down towards full forward. No, taken by Johnson. Plays on towards Ackerman. It should result in a goal to the Brisbane Lions, and it does.
Kennedy's kicked to full forward, centre half forward. It's been marked by Bond. Bond runs away from that position and kicks out wide. Port Power have got a chance here. Franco's got the football. He's a jumping, jiving player as Josh Franco. He's kicked towards full forward. He's been well marked by Cummings. This is what Port Power will be looking for. A goal from the boot of Scott Cummings. He's kicked two. And with the dying seconds in the second quarter remaining, that's exactly what he's done.
Wilson close to the line. To full forward. Here's a go at the back to sock off the ground. And they do score. Scotty Cummings.
We spilled the mark because he had his back to the umpire. He paid it.
Short kick finds Wanganeen, nearly run down, able to kick it in the direction of Cummings from behind. Great mark at the back of Champion. He's kicked four. And Scott Cummings can certainly do something to change that. Only 35 metres out, directly in front. He kicks for goal, and he's got his fifth. And at the moment, Brisbane lead by 8 points. They're 10-9 to 8-13. Forward go the Port Power. And he involves everyone. Go in Shane Brewer and get a goal. He does.
Scott Cummings was a focal point in the forward line. He dragged in 8 marks and with 5 goals continued to underline his value. This game was all about the last 2 minutes. From the moment Peter Burgoyne kicked a goal that would have severe consequences.
Final quarter. Plenty of pushing and shoving. Who's going to be first to recover? Peter Burgoyne's away. He's like greased lightning. He can give them the lead. He does.
The highlight, let's look at it again. Stephen Paxman spoiled as Tristan Lynch was licking his lips with 99 seconds to go. Paxman had been overlooked by Brisbane as they claimed the cream of the Fitzroy list. Port had made him #1 priority. He repaid their faith this day as Port made it 3 in a row and moved into the top 8 for the first time.
Looks on. This crowd will erupt any second. Keating out of the air. 2 seconds left. Wilson. There it is.
certainly each week as we approached big games, we had the belief in ourselves that we can, if we play well and we do all the right things on the day, yeah, we can beat any team on any given day. And that was the sort of the self-belief that we installed into each of us.
5 goals for to Scotty Cummings. Lade, Bond and Huskis outstanding in a nail-biting 2-point win.
Kingsley up from centre-half back, plenty of pace, ushered on there by...
No expansion team in league history had won 3 games in a row in their debut season. Only a statistic, but one that would come under fire when the Tigers travelled from Richmond to Football Park for round 6. A huge first quarter from Michael Wilson, who gathered 8 kicks, provided the spark for the Port forwards to convert truly.
The kick behind him. Turner, as a result, had the chance to take the mark. Bumble, Brown falling forward. Lockwood snaps and kicks a goal. Tate claims he touched it. Nothing doing. Gale hooks it down behind, or tried to. Bond, great evasion. Feigned a hand pass, and again, Lyle, the 2 former Eagles, up towards the wing. Bond, towards centre-half forward, taken away by James. Plenty of movers for him. One of them is Lockwood, can go over the top, needs to, gets it to Cummings. Is it his 18th goal of the season? I think it is.
Kicking towards half-forward for the Tigers. Again, the questions on the half-back line for Port Power. They've been up to it right at this stage, and once again they respond. Wanganeen in towards Cummings. Doesn't take the mark, follows up very well at ground level. Sweeping handball out wide. Wilson settles on the left foot. Bang! He's got it.
4 goals straight in the first term, opening that now familiar lead. Gavin Wanganeen was potent against the Tigers, the Brownlow medalist inspirational. A 7-goal third quarter put the match beyond doubt, the Power opening their lead to 59 points at the last change.
Over the ball, gets away from Kellaway. Was he taken high? The umpire calls play on. A non-decision. Franco's got it, lines up and kicks a goal, I fancy. Woohoo! What a beauty. Bond in the road. Lyle and Bond. Not the first time they've combined today. Dickey. Back to the run of Bond, he's on the wing, penetrating kick down towards half forward. In from the side, Gaspar with courage, collided with a teammate, Holland, and as a result, Franco runs into an open goal. Tossed in once more. In from the side, Brewer, clean possession, throws it on the boot. Oh, how about that? Some logic in there, do you think, Terry? You're nodding. Oh, a shocker from Turner. He marked the short pass. Opportunity for Port to come back in. Lockwood to Dickey. They're queuing up across half forward. Brewer playing a good third term. Knocks it across to support. Poole gets the hand pass away. Wanganeen, open goal, gets another one. It's a procession.
So Ben Holland. 24-minute mark, third quarter, straight across the ground, dangerous. Captain Wanganeen, he's kicked 2, now he's kicked 3.
In some ways, aiding and getting the 50 right there. The kick inside the attacking 50 for Port Power. Poole looking to give it off, does to Bond. Bond, a sharpshooter, gets it.
Poole flicks it on. Carter tries off the ground. Brewer picks it up. Caught in the tackle. Port with the opportunity. Cummings kicks it into Eagleton, who was in the way. Kingsley, back pocket, handballs it off. Picked up around the corner, bounces through again.
The final scoreline would see Port home by 64 points. Win number 4 on the trot. And suddenly the team that was predicted as wooden spooners and winless a couple of months earlier was 5th on the ladder. 8 spots above their much-vaunted hometown neighbours.
Wilbur was on fire at that part of the season, and he put together quite a few, outstanding games and made a bit of a name for himself in the AFL, which is good for him, and not only him, but there's been other players like Donald Dickey and Brendan Lade, your Roger Jameses, your Josh Francos. It's just really good for those guys to play AFL footy and to do well in their first year. It's certainly good for the club for future.
Scotty Cummings third on the goal-kicking table. His 4 taking him to 21-17. The skipper 3 goals in a best-on-ground performance, with Lyle and Bond standouts.
Hall tried to knock it on. It's tapped by Adam Huskers back towards the boundary line. There's Mead.
4 wins on home turf had propelled the Power up the ladder. But the real test would be winning away from Football Park. Round 7 took them to Waverley Park. And a daunting test against a St Kilda side with the brilliant Robert Harvey on fire. Port's forward line had been shut down by the St Kilda defence. Cummings ineffectual against Shanahan and restricted to a solitary point. St Kilda had run away to a 3-goal lead before Dickie goaled, and then remarkably had it taken away from him.
His teammate punched it back in. It was over the line, thank goodness it's a goal. Well, I thought I was seeing things. I thought I was at the wrong end of the ground. His teammate punched it back into play.
Yeah, it's a distant remarkable. Now, we're not sure what's going on here. The umpires are conferring.
What's happening down there?
The umpires wave the flags. There's a lot happening.
It was touched. I thought so. His teammate punched the ball back into play. I think.
Things didn't get much better. Port had the play in the third quarter, but woeful kicking saw them post 3-8. St Kilda far too powerful and eventual winners by 65 points.
Here's Brewer. Gets it back to Wanganeen. They need a goal, Port, and they've got it.
Brewer 3 goals, Burgoyne 2, with Brewer, Huskis and Norwich Rising Star nominee Lade the best.
And Craig Scholler is a noted goal kicker in towards the full forward.
Even without its skipper Wayne Carey, the task of meeting the reigning premiers North Melbourne in Melbourne is a daunting one. In round 8 at Optus Oval, the Power got away to a lacklustre start. The Roos had 7 straight on the board by quarter time, as Stevens, Allison and Rock tore them to pieces. As John Cale would say later that day, they wanted to make an impact in 1997, to learn from the better teams. It was a quick learning curve that day. After trailing by almost 10 goals, the Power came back strongly, outscoring North in the second half.
Down towards the goal square, Pike in best position, got his hands to it. Martin the crumbs gave it away to Wilson, and Wilson snaps and kicks a goal. Stevens averaging 22 possessions a game. That's slightly up on last season. His average will be helped this afternoon. Clears the pack on the outer side. Opportunity behind for Bond. He likes a goal. Bond from 45 out, likes the kick.
A 6-goal final term would cut the margin to 28 points.
Let's see what they can do now, Porters. Goes up towards Lade. Bond, can he get his 4th? Yes! Oh, brilliant play by Shane Bond.
Bond, with 4 goals and 26 possessions, was Port's best. From the skipper Wanganeen, Primus and Wilson.
Many of these people would have been following Port Adelaide Magpies all their lives.
The return to home base and a match against bottom side Melbourne restored some order. In a strangely fluctuating season, Melbourne had won once. It had beaten North in the opening round and not a game since. Against Port, it had no answers.
Taken by Mead, good handball on the up. Away, Huskis kicks the ball to centre half forward. Front spot is Lade. It's going to kick from about 50. It's going and going and going. Looks good. It's gone.
As the umpire finds some space to bounce it, knocked away there by Lade into a bit of a vacant area, kicked off the ground eventually by Eagleton. Cummings will get a free shot at goal and put it through for the Port side's 3rd goal.
Wilson made a huge impression in his first season to Brown, to Lyle. Lyle at half-back, kicks the ball a long way. Good kick too. Lade did it beautifully. Worked Nettlebeck underneath it from the front. Then a high ball, not a good kick. Courage here. Eagleton had plenty of it. It comes to ground. Dickey can go all the way. 48 metres out. Lets loose. Kicks it. He's got it. Another one.
By half-time, the visitors hadn't scored a goal in a game that was as much a struggle for the Demons as for the 32,000 on hand. The final margin would blow out to 51 points, giving the Power their 5th win from 9 games. It would signal the end for Melbourne coach Neil Barb, who was sacked when he returned to Melbourne.
Taken by Lade. Great kick. Good goal.
Cummings 4, Lade 3, Wilson best on the ground with 27 possessions. Dickey 27 touches too, and Lade with 7 marks the best. Off-field, Port coach John Cale and football manager Mick Moylan had a fallout. It was big news at the time.
Today, and Max, you saw something you hadn't seen in over 20 years of watching football.
Bruce, unbelievable, you're right. John Cale hasn't turned up to training tonight. He's in dispute, and it would appear at this stage he's in dispute with football manager Mick Moylan. We were at Alberton, as you said, and this afternoon we were there interviewing Mick Moylan, who was just in that story, and also we were interviewing John Cale. Now, at the end of our interview with Mick Moylan, there was an argument involving John Cale and Mick. John was screaming at Mick Moylan saying, you've burnt me, that's it, I've had enough. He then grabbed all his gear and walked over to his car in some sort of what was a surprise to us and a surprise to Mick Moylan. Moylan chased him to the car park and the heated discussion continued. Now, as a result of that, we understand, and as I said before, that John Cale did not turn up to training and he wants something done. It's nothing to do with the players, it's infighting. Mick wants to go down one way and John Cale obviously wants to go down to another. Bruce?
5 hours of intense negotiations started at 7:30 this morning in the City office of Cale's agent, Greg Griffin. Cale spoke his first words to the media since the drama began.
I still feel hurt and angry. One day the public will know the full story.
Across town at Alberton, Moylan had a spring in his step. He's only concerned for his family.
The people who found it hardest are your family. People who, have to, put up with a lot of things that they read and hear and see, and people ask them a lot of questions.
Cale and Griffin soon were joined by Port bosses Cunningham and Bolton. 2 hours later, there was an uneasy truce.
We've jointly addressed the issues of concern, and John and the club are confident he has the full support to enable him to maximise his coaching performance in the future.
The resolution left Port supporters elated.
It's just great news for the club. Fantastic.
I'm very happy that Jack's back and everyone's happy.
And Jack's back.
Despite their delight, many questions remain unanswered, but Cale, who later returned to Alberton to bury the hatchet with Moylan, obviously got what he wanted. Paul Dowling, 7 News.
Kernahan down in the back pocket for Carlton as Silvano.
Friday under lights at Football Park, and the thought of the Blues was appealing. Port was aiming at its 6th win at home. Carlton battling to overcome a terrible start to the year. 40,000 at Football Park were treated to a game that Cale rated as one of the best for the Power in 1997.
He does get the distance, it's offline, it's a Port Power mark, taken by Lade.
That's terrible guarding in the forward. That should never have been allowed.
Lade runs around, throws it on his left and kicks the goal. Well done. His first kick, a couple of hand passes, kicks towards full forward, looking down there for Primus, taken by Franco. An easy, simple shot by Franco is a goal to Port Adelaide.
Lockwood and Lyle, and Lade, I should say. Still with Lockwood. Bowen Lockwood gets his kick in. Wilson, another one.
The Blues were made to look second-rate, a far cry from the most successful side in AFL history. While Carlton's kicking verged on atrocious, Port looked solid.
For the first time in ages, handball by Wilson was excellent to Brown, and Brown does not let him down.
Kick forward by Eagleton, goes straight past Lade, gathered by Dean, gets it out to Bradley. Bradley blindly over his left shoulder, lands close to the centre. Welsh punched away there by Mead. Gatherers by James, gets it past Williams, then the hand pass. gathered by Primus. He really is quite agile for a big bloke. Dickey's kick towards the goal front. They haven't been up here very often. Chance now. Real opportunity. Cotton goes in. Well done, young Cotton. He kicked the goal.
Primus dominated the rucks and marked strongly around the ground. Michael Wilson was living up to his Rookie of the Year status.
Attacks it hard. Lockwood was there with Dean. Little toe poke was affected by Francis. James with the chance. On the left foot. Goes for goal and kicks it. What a goal. Late in the third quarter. A huge goal in the context of this match.
Gets the ball away to Kingsley. Kingsley into the centre. Lockwood drops what maybe he could have taken. Kick wide from Brown has found Dickey. Dickey down to the full forward area. Diving on it is Cummings. He's got it. Very important kick. Good kick too. It's a goal for Port Adelaide. Yes, he's tried pretty hard, but he's been under enormous pressure. Have the other 17 Carlton players on the ground. Big punch. Forward goes Franco. He breaks the tackle. Goes for goal. And that puts a nail in the coffin.
And Huskus has had a bottle and Francis has been okay. Off hands. Brewer having a reasonable last quarter after a quiet first three. Good play by James. Got it to Carter. Carter's kicked a half forward. Laid clever to Eagleton. Can he kick his first goal in the AFL? Yes, he can. We love that.
Down by 13 points at half-time, Port outscored the Blues 11 goals to 3 after the break to set up a 38-point win. That win, the 6th in 10 games, pushed them back up the ladder into 6th spot.
I looked at the young squad at the start of training and I thought, you know, you'd look at the big names in the AFL and you don't really place yourself as winning too many games, and we thought we'd be competitive, but it's just the pressure that we were able to put on, and I think just having the young blokes, the young team, it's given us a chance to run other teams down. And myself, I only thought we'd win up to 6 games.
Cummings, Franco, Brown, Cotton, all 2 goals. Primus, Huskus, Wilson, the best, in a great result.
Early in the first quarter, his kick in the direction of the...
If Port needed to be jolted out of the comfort zone that had grown around its performance at Football Park, it came at the hands of Sydney in round 11. The 1996 grand finalists, down in form after an inglorious start to the season, reminding everyone how even the competition had become. As Sydney coach Rodney Eade said, it really comes down to the mental approach on the night. The Swans were tuned in, the power turned off. For the 8th time in 11 rounds, the power were at home. This night, they didn't have a sniff of success. Scott Cummings kicked 3 goals. Port kicked only 4 for the night in a humiliating about-face. The loss by 35 points pushed them back to 9th spot. Cummings with 3 moved to 30 for the season, while Brown, Wanganeen and Kingsley were 3 players to trouble Sydney all night. Channel 9's Jeff Hutchison was among the crowd that night for this report on Sports Sunday.
Belligerent, distrusting of outsiders, happy to be everyone else's villain. It was that approach which helped Port win an incredible 34 premierships in the South Australian Local League before the AFL allowed it to become Port Power and go fishing in a bigger pond.
If we had our preference, we would have retained the black and white and the Magpie. There's no question of that. We couldn't. We were told that was impossible because of Collingwood, and so we had to compromise. But we hope in adding the 2 colours that we have and changing the name that we've still retained the old traditions. I think we have.
Would it be fair to say that this club hates to compromise?
Yeah.
Look at that tackling. That's what it's been like all night. It's just relentless.
The reservoir of talent at Port was always impressive, and even before the power emerged, you could have named an 18 from players already running around with AFL clubs. Among them, champions like Carlton's Craig Bradley, Essendon Brownlow medalist Gavin Wanganeen, and Collingwood's Nathan Buckley. Of that trio, only Wanganeen came back. Outsiders said Port would be lucky to win a couple of games. Who were these other kids, and if any of them were any good, why hadn't they been snapped up before? How did you do it? I mean, the perception outside is that they found these young talented players, stuck them in a cupboard, locked the door for 3 years, and when Port Adelaide came out, they turned the key and out came these players.
We locked them in a cupboard, turned the key and hid them for 3 years. That's about what we did.
Why are they so important to you?
Well, you're born and bred it. Can't knock it out of you. No. It's just Port Adelaide and I can't help it.
You make it sound like it's a bit of an affliction.
I think it is.
Ma Wilson hasn't been to the footy since 1976. Big crowds bring on panic attacks. But once you've enjoyed a cup of cha with Ma, it's easy to picture what a formidable figure she'd have been in the outer. Blazingly loyal, terrific tonsils, and the courage to take on any bludger who dared cross her path.
He came close enough to hit one of the kids, and I just picked my umbrella up and hit him across the shoulders, and I said, now get the hell out of here.
Did he go?
Yes, he went for his life because he knew damn well if he didn't, he'd get more.
And while 35,000 others were on their way to Footy Park, me and Ma sat in the kitchen, wandering through scrapbooks, winding back the years. And you reckon if you'd had a few more quid, you would have painted the whole thing black and white?
Well, when we was younger, as I said, we struggled in our married life at the beginning, like everybody does, even now. Everything would have been floor coverings and all would have been black and white. Everything would have been black and white.
Hides the dirt and shows your pride, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't say about hides the dirt, but I mean, it shows the pride of the family, you know.
Primus again takes it out of the middle.
The win over Geelong at home caused people to take notice, but it was the next round against the Adelaide Crows which really mattered. In 1990, Port Adelaide applied to join the AFL. The bid was rejected, but it did hasten the arrival of a composite team from South Australia. Port fans kindly call the Crows the bastard child of Port.
Don't ask me about the Crows because we barrack against them. And I think you'll find most Port Adelaide true supporters do.
Here's Primus. Oh, he tapped it down with the left hand, but Grant...
By quarter time, it appeared that the Western Bulldogs had all but wrapped up its match against Port. An 8-goal opening term, giving just a glimpse of the newly installed premiership favourites at full speed. Questions were again being raised about Port's ability to threaten away from home. My, how things changed, and how quickly they changed.
Paxman, back to Dickey, and now Port Adelaide will come down the middle of the ground. Now this is Eagleton again, onto his left foot. He drives it long. Cummings. Over the back is Franco. It sits for him. On the left foot, he bends it back. Oh, great kick. Top goal. Look at this.
Southern again. No one within cue of him. Sadat Sir should provide the shepherd. Now he has to go across goal. This might be a chance. No one there. It's a foot race. Fegan. Can he make it his second for the quarter? Cummings. Southern's got him. Fegan off the ground. And he might have got his second. He has. Kick away by Eagleton. Heaver on the end of it. Heaver at his third AFL club. Cummings, good mark, strong grab.
By half-time, Port was back in the game after keeping the Dogs goalless in the second quarter. Cummings again the focal point as he kicked his third 5-goal bag for the season. Slowly, Port wore the ladder leaders down. By the third break, they trailed by 2 goals, setting the scene for an amazing final quarter.
Snap by James, that's not bad, it's coming around, right on the goal umpire, I think he's kicked it, he has. So boundary throw-in, left half forward for Port. Ellis, quick hand pass, Fegan, quick kick, Wilson's got the mark, 25 metres out, almost directly in front. Wilson from 25 metres out, bends it around, he's kicked it! We've got a game on our hands here. Ellis goes up. Snap by Eagleton, up towards full forward.
I think this is through.
I don't think it was. I think it's a goal. Scores a level. Fabian Francis, beautiful smother by West. Still Francis, missed it on the second ping. Franco paddles it forward, the McGarry medalist. Fegan's kicked 2 at this end. Dickey, Franco again, still he goes, Franco snaps!
He's got the skill.
And he's kicked the goal! Scores level again! On centre wing. Figert was in front. James again! He kicks and he goes! Centering kick gets it to Lade. A long bomb up towards full forward, marking contest. Figert at the back! He kicks his goal! And the Bullies, well, Brewer charges through. Southern can't pick it up. Wind. A little give intended for Keller. Pinch, James snaps! What's he done? I think he's kicked it! Oh, don't tell me it's a goal! It's there!
6 goals they'd kick, the Bulldogs stopped to a walk. An incredible win. The final margin, 2 goals.
And they've beaten the league leaders. What a monumental upset. Port Adelaide by 2 goals, 14-10-94, defeating the Bulldogs 12-10-82.
And how they would party that night. For the first time, the Power had won in Melbourne, and the party was on. At Billy Bell's pub in South Melbourne, the home away from home for many of the club supporters, the mood was evident. A 7-5 scoreline after 12 games, and suddenly there was a feeling that nothing was beyond them.
At three-quarter time, we knew we'd pegged our way back all day, and we knew if we can get off to a good start at the beginning of the 4th quarter, we're a big chance. And a few things went our way, and the guys kept running and running, which helped.
It was fantastic, and to be 40 points down at quarter time, it's just terrific. It's a tribute to the boys that they stuck in there and had a good crack at it.
We love seeing you over here. Do you have to bring your own cheer squad with you?
I've got a very big family, mate, very big family.
I just said to Gavin Wanganeen the support that the club's got over here in Melbourne, because against the Western Bulldogs, Wolf out there at the Optus Oval, you had so many supporters there.
Mate, they come from everywhere, our supporters, and they're just fantastic, and you don't meet a more committed and loyal bunch of people than the Port supporters. They've helped us out tremendously.
What did Jack Cale say to the team after the match? We heard him say on Channel 7 he was delighted with the win. It was just another obstacle to overcome.
Well, it was, and I think we were really desperate to get this first win in Melbourne, away, and thanks, Heaps. And it was just terrific to get away with our first win in Melbourne and to get that monkey off our back sort of thing. So we didn't create too much of a big image that winning away is a problem. So now we know we can do it, and we'll back ourselves every time. Yeah.
Now the coach has said you can give up the lemon squash now. You can have a couple of beers. You deserve it.
Some people can, others can't. Mate, I'm going to watch the weight.
I know the feeling. Well done, Scotty.
Thanks
Thank
so
you. How'd that feel today?
Excellent. Great. Good fight back. Port Adelaide tradition. Never give in till the final siren goes. Not very funny, you girls. Great stuff. Should be more of it.
Now give us your best on ground.
Best on ground. The turning point was Laird onto the ball and Figert the centre half forward. James on the wing was great.
Must have been. He got any fingernails left when the scores were dead level?
No, we're going woof, woof. The dogs ran away.
I think you've had enough of that. Thank you.
Go Port Power!
Cummings with 5, Figert 3, Eagleton and James 2 each, while Lyle with 14 kicks and 14 hand passes was Port's best, from Lade and Figert.
Off the ground by Heaver, the Prince comes in. Can't take
The lopsided fixturing saw Port back at Football Park for the 9th time in 13 rounds, this time Fremantle. In 1995, the Dockers won 8 games in their debut season. Port were aiming for a similar result mid-year. In what would become a greasy scramble under the Football Park lights, Port edged slightly ahead in what was a high-scoring first quarter.
That one worked.
So youngster making his mark, powerful left foot kick, drives the ball long, Parker in front, Cummings from behind, fantastic grab. Cummings from about 35 metres out, directly in front, to put Port Power in front. He's drilled it. It's the ball out where we see Lyle rockets the ball wide. McGovern goes to the ground. Brewer does well, taps the ball on. Chisholm concedes some ground, goes back to O'Reilly. Franco's got it. Great play by Franco, chips it around. Cummings in the square. Bang!
After a slow start, Port kicked 5 in 13 minutes. Scotty Cummings booted his 3 for the match in a row. With Michael Wilson, Braden Nile and David Brown providing the thrust, Port capitalised on its more direct route to goal.
Brown, 30,827. Riding this kick. The spiral. It's all over.
The Dockers could add only 1 goal a quarter for the rest of the game, while Port slowly edged away. With skipper Wanganeen off with a thigh injury in the second term, others would step into the breach. The standard of the game was questionable in the conditions, but a win was a win. And after 13 games, Port was suddenly in the AFL elite. 8 wins and 5 losses, and third on the ladder. Only the Bulldogs and Geelong, both of whom had lost to the Power, above them. Cummings with 3 to 38 for the season. Heaver and Wilson 2 apiece. Wilson was again Port's outstanding player. 15 kicks, 17 hand passes, and great maturity in the conditions. Brown, Primus and Huskis, big players in the win.
He's got Mead playing on him.
While the Hawks celebrated John Platten Day in honour of the little South Australians' 250th game, Port was confronting a major hurdle in their bid to be a finals prospect. The Hawks, for so long the benchmark of football professionalism, had won 4 in a row, and at Waverley were always a difficult proposition. By half-time, Port trailed by 10 goals. The half-time address from Cale fired his men. As one journalist remarked, it seared the paintwork on the dressing room walls.
They want a mark. Now they want a rover. Well, the rover's the full forward, Cummings. Good kick by Scott Cummings. Goal.
So Josh Franco.
Here's a bloke getting his first run for Hawthorn. Craig Treleaven.
Yeah.
He'd nearly be leading the Brownlow after about 5 rounds.
Yep.
Wanganeen kicks long at goal and has kicked a great goal.
Well played, Chris Langford. Should have given the hand pass the first time. Here's Wanganeen again. And Wanganeen's kick is good. Rombotis marks 45 metres out from goal. And the Hawthorn fans reckon this would be horrible if Rombotis kicked this. It's a beautiful kick. Give him credit for that. Goal.
The transformation was amazing. 11 second-half goals put pressure on the Hawks and added some respectability to the scoreline.
By Conway. Oh, here's some pace being shown here by Fabian Francis. Gives it to Cummings. His 3rd goal of the game coming up as the big full forward races in and puts it through.
That was a long time ago and 2 clubs ago. Rombotis short and Primus marks right on the 50. Dummy lead offered down there by Conway. It was a bit of a size of a lad. Primus's kick, not bad. Great goal.
Salmon has it punched away by Lade. Almost a trip there to Josh Franco, but he recovers, bends it around. This is James, runs inside 50. Brings it in towards Rombotis, who kicks it in mid-air. What a brilliant goal that was.
Great stuff.
But very, very highly. First straight Wanganeen has been fantastic. Dickey has tried hard all day. Brings it in towards full forward. Cummings! It's a mark, no free kick.
Full forward, exactly.
Cummings going for his 4th. And Port have got a lot of heart there, not lying down. Here's goal.
Not seeing so much of them now. Darren Kapler, 26 possessions. I remember at half-time he had 21. He was hardly seen it in the second half. Here's Wanganeen again. And they're within 5 goals.
The crowd is roaring for the Hawks because they realise they're... Oh, here they go again, Port. This is terrific stuff. Braden Lyle, he can run another 30. And he should have another bounce. He will. Runs to 50. Brings it in towards the square. Rombotis can't mark. Socket up the ground by Wilson.
It's another one.
Yeah, when you think the margin at half-time, Drew, was 10 goals, it certainly has come alive.
Snap. Heaver. A goal.
The final margin, 32 points to Hawthorn. Wanganeen, Lyle and Franku stood out. Cummings kicked 4 as he got on top of Langford, and Rombotis came off the bench to kick 3.
Surrounded, Wanganeen digs it out.
Nearly 30,000 saw the West Coast and Port Power involved in a seesawing struggle at Subiaco in round 15. For both teams, the result was crucial as they fought to consolidate a place in the top 8. After a slow start, Port came back and by half-time would hit the front.
Well, this is a significant change to the Eagles. At quarter time, they've trailed 9 times out of the last 10 games, but they've certainly come out firing here now, leading by 16 points. Minutes to play. Eagleton on the outer side, steps around on the left foot. Picked up here, curled it around. Cummings, that's sensational.
McIntosh going for distance. Well, he got height. He comes outside the 50. Brewer got it down to Franco. Running across the ground. He pulls it back now. Cummings at the second attempt almost. McIntosh did well. Here's Wanganeen. Open goal. Goes across the goal line and kicks it.
Cummings comes. McIntosh comes. He straightens up on his left. Tosses the kick. Not good enough there for Simmons. Overruns the opportunity. Huskus dives in for the power. Brewer on the ground for his first run. Flicks it on out. Stepping through James. Lopes a handball in towards 50. Wheeling around. Wilson on the left foot. To the square. There's no one there. Wanganeen. Up he gets. There he goes. 2 in a row.
Hope he's okay.
One incident in the third quarter was construed as the turning point. An error by Matthew Primus, who had rucked tirelessly against the twin-pronged attack of Ryan Turnbull and young Michael Gardner.
Good across the back. 5 marks. A dangerous kick, Gardner. Michael Gardner very quickly on towards Gridgig. Gridgig will allow it to go. It's the goal to Gardner.
The Eagles belted home 3 unanswered goals, and the game's complexion altered. The final margin would be exactly 3 goals.
Against the flow, sends play down towards half forward. Wanganeen, full-chested, runs to 50, vacant goal square. He wants to bounce it through, and he will. Magic.
Wanganeen and Cummings 3 goals each. Primus, Wanganeen and Eagleton among the best.
Chance for Port Adelaide, the power with the boundary.
For Port fans, this was a night to savour. The night Collingwood hit town and the Power Boys hit their straps.
So Poole directly in front from 35 metres out. You'll hear the roar. Comes away, just pumps the ball deep back. He's looking for Cumming over the top. Was Richardson. At ground level, Michael trying to crash his way through. Caught by Franco. So Franco's kicked 10 goals for the season. He's drilled it.
Gavin Brown still barking instructions. Inspirational leader. Pull.
Wanganeen and Cummings 3 goals each. Primus, Wanganeen and Eagleton among the best.
Can't quite obtain front spot. Eagleton wobbles it. It bounces! Yes! No mark taken. Working hard was Wild. He loses it though. Goes again. Socket out of his hands. Mason for Eagleton again. He's already kicked 1. He pokes it in towards half forward. The bounce was not good. Heaver was taken out of it in no uncertain fashion. Back it goes towards Wilson. He's claimed. Brown is there as well. It is tough and tight out here at the moment. Lyle swings around, shoots towards goal, and puts it another one. They're not caught.
Primus has been getting his hand on the ball first. Does it again. They're dangerous out of the centre square. Dickey pumps the ball back towards centre half forward. Good punch away by Watson at ground level. Wilson What a star he's been this year. Great vision, sets it up and finds Heaver.
But so far, they're quick and hard at ground level, Port. That's why they're winning the game.
So Heaver runs very close to the man on the mark. He's a dead-eye dick. Ball thumped out of the centre. Huskus traps it inside the centre square. Loose player. It's Wanganeen. Can he set it up? He goes long looking for Scotty Cummings in front. Too tall, he's got it. Great grab. Well, Scotty Cummings, he's kicked 45 goals for the year. He's drilled it. Chance for Chris Siska. To Wild. Pushed as he kicked the ball. Eagleton caught by Chris Siska, thrown to the ground. Strong arm tactics, James. Feigns the hand pass. He can have a shot. He can kick a goal.
10 goals straight into the second term. Accuracy, discipline and performance. Poor old Collingwood didn't know what had hit them. Hot off a 100-point win over Fremantle, the Magpies had no answer to the ruck supremacy of Matthew Primus. They watched Shane Brewer successfully tag Nathan Buckley out of the game.
This raking left footer. Rams it home. So Francis gains a few metres, then kicks the ball long, firstly to the centre of the ground. Free kick's been given away. They've paid the advantage, so here's a chance now. Out in front is Cummings. Might have to give a pay rise to the kicking coach. So Scotty Cummings. Oh, they've kicked another one.
Here's Paul with Dash. Gives it away to Huskus. A long driving bomb in towards Scotty Cummings. Oh, danger here. Went it down as Brent Heaver. You better not miss. He doesn't. 10 straight.
So Paxman down towards Cummings, punched away by Michael at ground level. It was pounced on by Eagleton. Back to Lee, down from centre half back. He can kick a goal. Look at the excitement on Mead's face.
They're quicker with the ball at ground level when they do get it in their hands, so it's a real struggle for Collingwood at present.
Port Power by 42 points. It could be 48 coming up. Ball comes back. Brewer, point blank range, bangs it through. That defence has been good all night. Daniels kicks the ball long out of defence. There's the mark, taken by Cotton. Can he set it up? Great handball to Brewer. He can go over the top. Here's a goal coming up. Franco, bang!
He's got it on left half forward. Steve Carter pops one into the pocket. Shane Brewer. Well, maybe his second one, but he's been very, very quiet. In fact, hasn't bothered the statistician. Look at this kick from Shane Brewer. I don't think he's better than that. The hurry kick is by Carter, but it's okay. They can set something up here as they run it out of the middle, up towards the centre half forward, and the mark is taken by Lay. Spent a lot of time on the bench, Brendan Lay, tonight. But gee, he's a good player. He heads for home. Cummings is alone.
A 53-point win, the 9th for the season, and a place in the top 8 with a 4-point buffer. 10 different goal kickers, with Cummings kicking 4. The best, Primus, Francis and Brewer.
Power, very keen for their first goal.
There was some justice for former Bombers Gavin Wanganeen and Scott Cummings when they lined up at the home of football for the round 17 clash against Essendon. Wanganeen repaid the criticism of his departure back to Adelaide with a stunning game. Cummings showed his teammates another side to himself with 7 goals. The pair would blitz the Bombers.
Port go forward. Franco's kicked 2. They can raffle it. Cotton's got it at centre half forward.
It's a critical turnover, isn't it?
Now Cotton's on a bad kick. It's 50 metres out. And that looks good off the boot. He's got it.
The pass is a beauty. The lead was good. And Port Adelaide, ominous signs here as far as Essendon are concerned. His first shot was not good, was tentative. His second was okay. And his third is okay as well. The power surges on.
Yes, and Essendon really don't have a recognised big man out on the ground tonight.
Here's Dickey in towards Poole and Co at half forward. Waiting down, an opportunity now. The hand pass is going to be okay towards James. And Port Adelaide have the answers here at the MCG.
Port would win every quarter, hit the ball hard and tear the normally respectable Bombers to pieces. Their 10th win would equal Adelaide's performance in its debut year of 1991 and underline the philosophy instilled by Cale. No frills, long-kicking pressure football.
Kicking from 49 metres. Low, just about there, I think, by the young man. It is.
By Wilson, Mercury, good take, then tried to shrug his man off, couldn't quite. Brewer's got hold of it, kicks it cleverly to Dickey. Port finding space at the MCG to Mead. Mead away. He kicked a goal last week, he couldn't believe it. One bounce, hasn't gone inside, kicks to centre half forward and finds Wanganeen, who's quickly on. Left foot by the champ and he drills it through for goal. Simons and Carter taken by Harvey, bit slow. He is struggling, no free kick for Simons. Brilliant Bond to Franco, to Juskus, and kicks the ball to full forward. Cummings has two against him, well done Wellman. Down to the front, Burgoyne, here's the chance. Wanganeen, he gets it back towards him. Brilliant Wanganeen, wonderful goal! Fantastic!
While Sheedy would moan about the departure of Wanganeen to anyone who would listen, the Brownlow medalist effectively ended Essendon's bleak finals ambitions. His 12 kicks would result in 4 goals, and his third quarter was a bottler.
No free kick, Wanganeen belts it back to full forward. Cummings and Wellman, chance for Heaver, bouncing, goal! Just what Port wanted, Heaver.
And the skipper goes from half-back towards centre wing. Mead, the floating flyer from the side. He couldn't take it. O'Donnell is there. Wilson through. Mead first to recover. He needs Wilson. He's got him now, but he needs help. No, he doesn't. He twists out of trouble beautifully. And he heads for home with a long kick in towards full forward. And Cummings is there again. And this goal for goal act to continue here at the MCG. Point blank range, tight angle. Not a drama for the big man. Plenty of room in that forward line. He elects to give it to his captain, Gavin Wanganeen. Now, where is Scotty Cummings? He's charging forward. Fletcher's there with him. Cummings close to the boundary line. Forced onto the left foot. Floats it in towards the forward zone. Now, Burgoyne's very clever. He's a very clever player, this boy. Oh, and there he is in action. Peter Burgoyne. And now they've opened it up because Adam Huskus, one of the best last week, and he's having a mighty time at the moment. Looks towards the half-forward line. Poole is down there. He's got the big man now. He swings out of the pack. Goes in towards full forward. Cummings uses the body beautifully. Thought about playing on and will go back and shoot for goal. 15 metres out. He has goal and he's kicked number 5 and Porter looking the goods here at the MCG. Cockatoo Collins couldn't take the mark. Pryor's in trouble. He dropped it like a hot potato. It could prove costly. They spear it into Cummings. He'll kick another one. Turn around and kick it.
Cummings kicked 7-6 to top the 50-goal mark for the first time in his 4 seasons in AFL. The final margin, 50 points.
And Port will be keen to build, as Tim said, on that percentage. Brewer, Josh Franklin, towards Poole. Oh, they're streaming down the ground. Gavin Wanganeen, finish it off with a goal. Under pressure he kicks. It's high, it's close. Oh. Is it there? Yes!
It was a pretty special night, especially playing at the MCG and winning there and winning comfortably. And to play well was, an added bonus. So it sort of just makes people aware that, they doubted your ability, and just to show them that, you might have some, and they made a mistake.
Cummings reached 7 goals for the 3rd time in his career. Wanganeen with 4 was his side's best player. Primus, another beauty in the ruck.
Primus and Barnes. Primus fingertips to
Memories of that historic first-up win over Geelong were quickly erased in a very forgettable trip to to Cardinia Park. The top side on the ladder showed little respect for the new kids on the block, providing John Kerr with his worst result of the year. The absence of the suspended Wanganeen and the injured Lyle and Brewer robbed the Power of experience and skill. Again, Port struggled with inaccuracy. Scotty Cummings kicked 2, but he'd finished with 2-5. His 41 behinds for the year, the most by any goal kicker. While Port kicked 4 goals in the final term, the Cats booted 10, to win by a whopping 85 points. A result that severely dented Port's already poor percentage. Burgoyne 3, Cummings 2, with Eagleton, Dickey and Franco the Power's best.
Balmy days and barbecues. It felt like a final in September, and that's the way the crowd was treating it.
I'll Port Power because they're just simply the best and they rule the world.
Oh, the Crows for sure.
Port not up to it?
No, they're crap.
The traditional pre-match build-up is important as the contest itself.
You need food in your stomach.
Beautiful. Some were fired up.
No one's relaxing today. Go the Crows!
Come on, Port Adelaide aggression! Yes!
Others a touch underwhelmed and hoping football would be the winner.
I'm a Power. My wife's a Crow. We're supposed to be going away on a holiday. Ideally, we should have left yesterday. But she wants revenge for last time.
Perhaps it was because it was Power's home game, but they were the only ones singing. The Crows a little on the shy side. Hold Howling, 7 Nightly News.
About a 5-goal breeze, you'd reckon.
Adelaide looking for top spot on the ladder under new coach Malcolm Blythe. Port needing to win to be virtually assured of a history-making final in its first year. The stakes were huge and the start was blistering. Port kicking 5 unanswered first-quarter goals.
The breeze.
And also you can see the breeze, an indication on his jumper is fluttering there in the breeze.
They kicked it pretty long in the schoolboys game earlier here today. He's about 70 metres out.
Kick.
Look at that! Oh, what a goal! Terrific kick! Downsborough with Pittman. Brown rows it beautifully on the left and a snap of goal. He's put it through. Drop footy.
Into the path there of Bond. Nearly run down there by his brother in Shane Bond. Paxman gets it across to Dickey. Dickey now finds Eustace. They're still in their defensive 50. They should make something out of this. Eustace this time. Good pass, Brewer. Lyle well tackled. Is he allowed to go on? He is. Good follow-up by Brewer. Shot for goal by David Brown's passing through for goal. No, there's a free kick right on the goal line.
And that's a
no, it might be all clear, is it? No, it's a free kick, I think. No, it's a goal.
Kick standing up predictably into the breeze. High flyers needed out there. Wanganeen rows it beautifully. Looks for the long hand pass. Lyle, vice captain. Donald Dickey, Mr. Excitement. Dickey short the half forward. Beautiful pass on the lead. Cummings and marks. He's kicked, and he has kicked truly.
Rashudo, well done there by James, but interception by Daniels. Well played. Downsborough. Daniels didn't have the ball, did he? That's the way the umpire has seen that, and Daniels, gee, he's a bit hard at it too.
Come on, bring it out this way. He's too slow.
Yes, well, he probably is aware of the urgency required. Lovely kick. It's a goal!
In tough conditions, the defences would work overtime. Still, Port kicked 2 against the wind in the second term. Vital goals that gave the Power a 16-point lead at half-time.
They've got a chance here. Cummings. This may bounce through for a goal against the breeze. Very valuable stuff.
Pittman, Dickey, Franco over the head of Eustace, but it's okay. Eagleton finally around McLeod. Oh, beautifully done. Wanganeen. Bradley medalist kicks out in front of goal. Great use of the body. He's got it again. Scott Cummings in line for his third. Gee, that'd be a real boost. 2 quick goals by him against the breeze. That's if he kicks this. He should.
By three-quarter time, Port knew what they had to defend. 23 points would be the margin as Adelaide came home with the wind. The battle was on. 10 scoring shots to none told the sorry tale. It was the result that meant so much, the one that literally got away. The Crows by 7 points. Cummings 3, Squire and Brown 2 each, with Daniels, Mead and Wanganeen the best.
Primus, we understand too, was ill during the week with the flu.
A second successive opportunity to make September. A trip to Brisbane to face the Lions under the Gabba lights has proved a tough task for many of the AFL's most seasoned teams, let alone one in only match number 20. Port arrived in Brisbane with weary legs after the slogging encounter with the Crows, yet a quarter time, thanks to straight kicking, led by a point. The Power looked superb in the second term, adding another 4 goals. At the break, they led by 29 points.
2 goals. Great start by Port. And it will come back. It's a free kick going the way of Port, and it's going against Alistair Lynch.
A couple of bad defensive errors by Lynch, again turning the ball over with that Shepherd.
Mead's kick is high in towards Cummings. He can't take the mark. He needs support, and he's got it. The snap in towards goal is an absolute beauty.
Squire.
So Port hit back.
Gives it off to Franco. So Port Power come forward inside 50. They need a mark. Cummings was pushed out of the way. Chance at ground level. Squire for goal number 2. And he's banged it through. So he's come off the bench for 2 goals.
Dick Foss breaks, Gowers breaks, but he decides to go straight down the middle towards Green. Fletcher there also. Oh, waiting down in front is Brewer. Off to Lyle. Here's a chance for the Power. Lyle goals! And they stretch their lead.
The third quarter undid a lot of the good work. While Port struggled kicking 3-5, Brisbane hammered home 8 goals. One of the most contentious issues of the match, this goal to Shane Brewer. Was it or wasn't it?
And wobbling. I think it's there. It's a Port goal.
Wilson.
He's got it. There's no doubt. Lade gives it across towards Dickey. He can't quite take it cleanly on the half volley, but recovers well to Lyle, who looks down to Wanganeen. Thought about going off. And then suddenly looked round, and there was Chrissy Johnson. Beautiful kick to Brown, who drifted down into the pocket, and he's now going to have a shot 35 metres out. Here's the kick from Brown. He bends it back beautifully and scores another one for the Power.
The margin again just 1 point at the last break. Once again, Port's fleet of running players led by Wanganeen produced the goods. The final quarter, one of the most exciting for the year. With 13 seconds to go, scores were level.
This will give Port a chance to man up.
So McRae does the right thing. He bombs it long. The high flyers. Big pack of players at the back. Bradshaw can kick it off the ground. Did he get his foot to the ball?
It's up to the goal.
Brisbane think he has. He's got it.
That goal to the Brisbane rookie Bradshaw produced the only draw of the home and away season. And what a costly result it was. Ultimately, it would cost Port a place in the finals.
To draw the game, I didn't know whether to laugh or smile, Max, but in hindsight I think that was a good effort to draw. To go up there and come away without losing was a good effort, and I was happy with the draw and the finish.
The first draw for Port. Cummings 4, Franco, Brown and Squire 2 each. Franco, Bond and Brown the best.
His kick also a little scrubby.
Richmond at the MCG under new coach Jeff Geeshan finished the season in a flurry. Among the scalps for the Tigers would be Port Adelaide. This was a match that Port struggled to get into and hurried to get out of. 5 goals in the first half, only 3 in the second. Not surprisingly, there were claims that Port looked flat and lethargic. Not quite the number 1 contender to push Brisbane out of that tenuous 8th spot on the ladder. In the end, it was a runaway win to Richmond by 85 points. Cummings with 3 goals tried hard, Lade and Brown 2 apiece. Nathan Eagleton earned Port another Norwich Rising Star nomination for his game. Brewer and Brown also contributors.
Worth employing someone full-time just to keep an eye on those two.
The 176th and last home and away match for the 1997 season. And what a game it was. Port still with a chance of making the finals. St Kilda a win away from top spot for the first time since 1965. All or nothing. After 8 victories at Football Park, Port was looking good in its historic quest.
Port's 2 goals coming in a blistering 2-minute burst. Late in the turn. Maybe another one. Josh Franco round the body. Oh, he's kicked up. What a goal by Josh Franco. Brewer. Beautifully to Franco. Here's a chance for Josh. In a couple of minds. Eventually spins to Wilson. Goal! Port's got the answer. Just forward of the centre. Cummins gives him a lead. Cummins is down to half-forward. There's an open goal square. He goes over the top. He's got Eagleton there. Eagleton's going to be the first to recover. If it sets, he does. He kicks it. Off to Paxman. Wanganeen's in the middle. He might have another crack at it. Wanganeen, 70 metres out. This time goes onto the left foot. In towards full forward. Everett was there working hard. Look at this kick.
A tight first half, in which St Kilda shot the lights out with 8 goals from 9 scoring shots, saw Port a point up. The Power had 38,000 behind them as they fought hard in the third term, holding the premiership favourites at bay. A goal down at the last change.
Almost directly in front. Into a slight breeze. It doesn't deter him in the least.
But then St Kilda's class on-ballers took charge. 3 goals to the Power, 6 to St Kilda. And season 1997 had come to an end. The final result, 33 points. The finals just half a game away.
Crowd of 38,589 here to witness this match. And they have not been let down. Can Adelaide convert? Leans back on a big drop punt. And they hang in there.
Cummings, Wilson, Eagleton, Lade, all with 2. Huskus, Mead and Lyle, the best players.
I've been surprised, and not only myself but a lot of other people involved in the club and just people in general, I think. It's been a good year for the club, a great debut season, and it's certainly something to build on.
Checking some of the key figures for 1997. Scotty Cummings 3rd behind Tony Modra and Sav Rocker for the Coleman medal. 70 goals, 50 behinds, underlining his strike power. Matthew Primus, 255 hitouts, 9th in that department behind Paul Salmon. And then, on Tuesday, September 12, Michael Wilson collected the club's highest individual honour, the Norwich Rising Star, as the outstanding rookie in the AFL.
The best young talent in the country gathered together today for the Norwich Rising Star Award. Port Adelaide's Michael Wilson, an almost unanimous selection as Rookie of the Year, ahead of the Swans' Stephen Carey and Essendon's Blake Caracella. The 20-year-old admitted he'd deliberately held back from the national draft to be part of Port Power's debut.
Yeah, I just sort of held off. There was no real serious phone call, so yeah, I just hung on.